reading from the first letter of John. My children, I am writing this to you so that you may not commit sin. But if anyone does sin, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ, the righteous one. He is expiation for our sins, and not for our sins only, but for those of the whole world. The way we may be sure that we know him is to keep his commandments. Those who say, I know him, but do not keep his commandments are liars, and the truth is not in them. But whoever keeps his word, the love of God is truly perfected in him. The word of the Lord.
Our second reading for this Sunday comes from the first letter of John. We have been reflecting on forgiveness of sins, the remission of sins, as a gift of the risen Lord. And as we saw in our reflection on the first reading, yes, it is a gift, but it requires a response on our part. We should not waste that gift. The triumph of the risen Lord over sin and death means his forgiving love is more powerful than our ability to hurt God. Now, in the second reading, we are told, My little ones, I am writing this to keep you from sin. Oh, so the purpose of the first letter of John is to help people avoid sin. Well, you are believers. You are already baptized in the power of the risen Lord. He has already forgiven you. So avoid sin. Do not waste the triumph of the Lord. Do not go back to the old life that seems to declare God has not forgiven our sins. God has not triumphed over sin. Now, but in case we sin, here we find the goodness of God. According to the first letter of John, in case we sin, we have in the presence of the Father, Jesus Christ, an intercessor who is just. Jesus, the risen one, is now seated at the right hand of the Father. There, he is totally in the presence of God. He lives in the realm of God. It is not just the ordinary human life that we are used to, that he possesses now. He is living the very life of God. And so he is not touched by sin and death anymore. Now, he, seated at the right hand of the Father, continues to intercede for us sinners. He does not say, I have nothing to do with you anymore. I had suffered a lot from you. Now, here in heaven, I don't care about you. No, he continues his triumph over sin and death by interceding for us. This gives us hope. So we find in the second reading the intensification of forgiveness of sins as a gift of God to us through the risen Lord, and also our obligation, our task to receive and to make as the rule of life. In the second reading, forgiveness of sins leads to pure love of neighbor. If we are truly people who have triumphed over sin in Jesus Christ, we manifest it in love. Love is the most important way of showing and manifesting to the world that forgiveness of sins has really been achieved by the risen Lord. Especially love of enemies. Oh, because that's what the risen Lord has manifested to us. He returns to his apostles, he returns to his disciples, and he returns to us, not as a harsh judge, but as a loving, compassionate brother. Forgiveness of sins. So my dear brothers and sisters, as we rejoice at this tremendous gift of forgiveness of our sins from the risen Lord, let us examine ourselves. Are we making full use of it? Do we appreciate this gift? Or do we, in a way, take it for granted and say, well, no, when the time comes, that's the time when I will decide to ask pardon from the Lord? No. It is a gift that is constantly there. What are we doing with that gift? And are we translating the forgiveness that we are enjoying into a lifestyle of love, of compassion, transforming us into agents of the forgiveness of love and the forgiveness and love of the risen Lord to other people? As we appreciate this gift, let us share that gift to other people.